Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, How to Successfully Exhibit at a Virtual Trade Show. Our colleagues from Enterprise Florida and Nextech AR will share valuable information and best practices that will help you maximize your virtual exhibition performance and experience, particularly at the Florida International Trade Expo, the first ever virtual event to be organized by a state agency in the country. Before we start, next slide, please. Before we start, let me go over some of the rules and instructions. For questions, please use the Q&A feature. Questions will be answered at the end of the presentations. Participants will be muted during the duration of the webinar, so please write your questions or concerns. Finally, please be reminded that this webinar is being recorded. I now want, next slide, please. I now want to welcome and thank James Anzalone and Oscar Erdem, co-chairs of the Florida District Export Council, for hosting this event.
Thank you, Alejandra, and thank you to our speakers and attendees for being a part of this webinar on how to successfully exhibit at a virtual trade show. My name is Jim Anzalone. I'm the chairman of the South Florida District Export Council. And for those of you that don't know us, the District Export Council, or DEC for short, provides leadership and international trade expertise to complement the U.S. commercial services export promotion efforts. So we represent the interests of the Florida exporting community and provide business counseling on the export process and trade education through webinars and seminars like today's, and other events and community outreach to encourage Florida firms to export. District Export Councils are all volunteer organizations of business leaders from local communities whose expertise in global business provides an outstanding source of professional advice for local firms, and all at no cost to the exporter. There are 61 DECs throughout the country, and they're spread across 8 regions that are aligned with the Department of Commerce U.S. Commercial Service regions. And so all told, there are approximately 1,600 DEC members representing their local exporter communities. I'd now like to introduce my esteemed colleague, Dr. Oscar Erdem, chairman of the Central North Florida DEC and former chair of the National Association of District Export Councils. Oscar?
Thank you, Jim. Good morning. So I'm going to just briefly talk about the DEC activities here, District Export Council activities for both DEC, Central North Florida and South Florida DECs. Overall, the 61 DECs that Jim has just mentioned, we focus on guiding and mentoring local businesses in exporting. We identify export financing sources that it could be, that could be Exim Bank and several other sources, SBA loans. And in fact, in our network, we have representatives from all these organizations. And as Jim noted, we are volunteer organizations, so there is no cost for all these mentorship activities. We try to create greater export awareness locally, and we help identifying issues affecting our local exports. And we, of course, as a result of that, suggest improvements to local authorities and regulators. And at the national level, including at the local level, of course, we also advocate trade policy and legislation supporting exporters. When there are regulational changes going on and our exporters need assistance in affecting some of those regulation updates or upcoming regulations, we help them and we convey the message to our local regulators here, as well as the Congress and the Senate. We support programs and services of the U.S. Export Assistance Centers. That's one of the main tasks, of course, that we execute. We build local export assistance partnerships with other trade-related organizations. So we're part of this ecosystem with Enterprise Florida, and Florida Makes and Chamber of Commerce, and we provide export training and education through various programs. So we have a outreach and education committee in both organizations, in both district export councils. So we put together webinars and seminars and several other events where we actually train and educate the exporters and manufacturers. So with that said, and I can of course share the link with you. That's the www.usaexporter.org. usaexporter.org is our National Association of District Export Councils website, and there is a map, and you can find the links to access to specific district export councils that you're looking for, and you can also access to Central North Florida DEC and Southern Florida DEC websites through that single link. I will now turn the webinar back to you, Alejandra. Thank you.
Thank you. And now allow me to briefly introduce Enterprise Florida. Enterprise Florida is the principal state agency for economic development. Its mission is to expand and diversify the state's economy through job creation and by helping local companies explore and enter new markets. Next, please. We have a comprehensive portfolio of grants, services, and strategic alliances established with small and medium companies in mind, as well as its different stages of maturity and business development goals. Next slide, please. We offer a different array of value-added services and relevant market information focused on enabling trade facilitation for Florida manufacturers and service providers. So please make sure to reach out to us, my colleagues and I, and so we can better assist you and go over our different programs. I'd like to now introduce you to my colleague Larry Bernaski, who will share more insightful information. Next slide, please.
Thank you, Alejandra. I may be overstating the obvious or preaching to the choir, as it were, but at Enterprise Florida, we think there are several valid reasons for considering virtual trade shows. As many of you are aware, international travel is heavily restricted at this time. These restrictions impact both the exhibitor and the attendee at both domestic and international trade shows. Meeting quarantine restrictions may also represent another layer of cost for both the exhibitor and the attendee, and there is no foreseeable timetable for easing these restrictions. As an exhibitor factors in the cost of even a shell scheme booth, virtual trade shows are generally less expensive than traditional brick and mortar booths. Virtual trade shows eliminate shipping and travel costs entirely. Depending on the location of the event and the number of staff at the show, shipping and travel can easily cost the company upwards of $15,000. Many of you who have exhibited at an overseas trade show know that by the time you factor in travel, booth setup, and dismantling, even a 3-day event can take more than 5 days to complete. At Enterprise Florida, we work closely with many show organizers, and we have seen shows postponed, canceled, or converted to virtual events. As a result, there is a lack of brick and mortar trade shows available at this time. We're also seeing some interesting trends in virtual trade shows. According to one trade show organizer, 83% of their clientele have attended one or more virtual trade shows. 62% of that same clientele report that they would consider exhibiting at a virtual trade show, and over 50% of attendees at virtual trade shows report identifying sourcing opportunities at virtual trade shows. We're also seeing some interesting results at virtual trade shows. At a recent virtual trade show in Dubai, for instance, one organizer reported 12,000 visitors from 62 countries, resulting in more than 1,000 appointments and 24,000 webinar views. At 2 virtual trade shows supported with grants by Enterprise Florida, 25 exhibitors reported more than $23 million in expected export sales. Next slide, please. There are, as some of you are already aware, Enterprise Florida will be hosting a virtual trade show in March 2021. The Florida International Trade Show will utilize the latest technologies to showcase Florida companies before an international audience. I'd like to talk next about some reasons and advantages for exhibiting our expo and how we are tailoring the Next Tech platform to offer Florida companies an exceptional experience. Enterprise Florida has utilized its overseas offices to identify over 30 industry associations in 14 countries who will be promoting the expo via emails, banner advertising, and newsletters. We will be promoting the event and the exhibitors' products through the International United Commercial Agents and Brokers Association, which boasts more than 20,000 buying agents throughout Europe, Canada, and Mexico. EFI will also be conducting an email campaign aimed at industry executives worldwide. As international promotion begins, the expo registration will promote all the registered Florida exhibitors. Exhibitors and visitors alike will be able to arrange one-on-one appointments with one another and communicate via either text or video. Exhibitors will be able to text and video via a variety of platforms to include FaceTime, Zoom, Microsoft Teams, and Skype. Videos at the exhibitors booth will be available in Arabic, English, Spanish, German, French, and Portuguese subtitles. Additional languages will be available upon advance notice. Next Tech Solutions will be providing live and on-demand training webinars to exhibitors and tutorials for attendees. During the expo, EFI will utilize live webinars to feature key Florida business executives and government leaders who will offer information about the advantages of doing business in Florida and with Florida companies. Next slide, please. Exhibitors will also have the opportunity to review their booth content prior to submission and make changes as necessary. We will also have live NECTEC technical support during the event and trade support from Enterprise Florida during the event. In order to maximize exhibitor exposure, the expo will be available on demand for 30 days after the event. Exhibitors and attendees will be able to mingle based on industry-specific interests in our various networking lounges. Our Innovation Hall will offer a showcase of statewide collaboration in such areas as bioscience, entrepreneurship, and other leading-edge technologies. Our press room will provide exhibitors with the opportunity to showcase their latest products and service innovations. And finally, Enterprise Florida is offering grants to eligible companies that will cover 100% of the cost of exhibiting at the expo. We ask that you please contact us after the webinar to discuss individual eligibility requirements. Next, please. And now I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce you to Connie K. Santos and Andrew Crow with NextTech AR Solutions. Connie and Andrew will provide you with an overview of the inner workings of a virtual trade show, the technology behind a virtual trade show, and the suggested best practices to follow while exhibiting at a virtual trade show.
Thank you very much, Larry. This is Andrew Crow. I'm one of the senior sales directors at NextTech AR Solutions. It's been a pleasure working with Enterprise Florida and having them choose us to host their virtual trade show. A little bit about NextTech. We realize a lot of the world has gone to Zoom, Skype. They're fantastic platforms. But with NextTech, we're really trying to take what used to be an in-person event and allow you to have an amazing virtual experience with our virtual event platform instead. We consider ourselves not just a virtual event solution platform or virtual trade show platform. We want it to be a true virtual experience, a get out of your seat moment. So I'll touch on some of the capabilities that we offer to allow for that a bit further. Next slide, please. Now, if you're not familiar with NextTech, we've actually had over 10 million people go through our platform. We've actually done a car launch with over 650,000 concurrent viewers at once. We've hosted over 70,000 virtual events across 100 different countries, rather. Next slide, please. Here's just a quick overview of some of the clients we've been working with over the past 10 years. Obviously, with COVID, our business has exploded lately, and we're really excited to be working with Enterprise Florida. I will touch more on some of the capabilities, but I will pass it off back to Enterprise Florida to continue the presentation. Thank you.
Actually, I'm going to take over. Hi, everyone. My name is Connie K. Santos. I'm the Director of Channel Event Strategies. And in this slide here, in the next couple of slides, I'm going to walk you through some of the best practices with regards to how you can use our exhibit booth at your upcoming event. So from a workflow perspective, there's 6 steps that we've helped outlined. The first step is, 1, you need to pick the booth type before December 31st. So by booth type, it means there's 3 different sizes that you can choose from: small, medium, and large. If you have any inquiries or questions about what that looks like after this presentation, please feel free to contact Florida Expo at enterpriseflorida.com. The second thing that we need to do from a workflow perspective is really select your AR upgrades by January 10th. So if you're not quite sure what the AR or the augmented reality upgrades are. Andrew's going to be back on in a couple of slides to share with you some of the immersive experiences that you can leverage with augmented reality that we're capable of. The third step is to identify your key booth representatives for the live event. So basically, once you've confirmed you're participating, you need to make sure that the live event actually has representatives that are able to engage with the visitors that's coming to your exhibit booth. The fourth step is there's going to be a checklist for you. So depending on small, medium, or large, you're going to have a different checklist, and it's going to help you outline all of the marketing assets and information that you will need to collect before you go into the exhibitor booth generator to create your beautiful booth. So the first thing is included in that is you do need to provide a live meeting link. So your choice, whether it's a Zoom link, Team, WebEx, BlueJeans, or Skype. You can decide what that is, and you would provide that as part of your checklist in terms of how your visitors are going to connect with you through the live meeting. The next thing that you do need to provide is a booking appointment link. Most people use apps like Calendly as an example, and this is an opportunity for anyone that visits your booth that may not be ready to actually have a meeting with you at the moment, but wants to schedule a meeting with you. So that booking link will enable that capability. The fifth step is your booth generator. So once you actually collected all of the information that you need based on the checklist for your small, medium, or large booth, you're going to receive a link with a unique code to log in. And then from there, you will actually start creating your booth. Once all of your contents are uploaded, you will be able to actually review and finalize your booth within the booth generator. So it's going to be a lot of fun. And if you're wondering what does that look like, don't worry, I'm going to show you. But from a deadline perspective, we do need you to confirm all of the details and upload it by January 30th. Just from a timing perspective, we want to give us extra time to make sure if there's any changes after you've created it, that we have our creative and developers to work with you on that. The final step is to schedule an internal technical dry run with your team. And I'll talk about the best practices around that further down in the presentation. Next slide, please. So if you're wondering what the small, medium, or large exhibition booth looks like, this is what it is. So you have a 2D small booth, you can have a 2D medium booth, or you can have a 2D large booth. Essentially, the assets are a little bit different and the visuals are a little bit different as well. We'll go into more details in the next slide, please. So this is your small booth. Within your small booth, you'll be able to showcase a top banner, which is your logo. You'll get to choose and customize what your backdrop is going to look like. You'll have resources that you can upload, and one resource will have a brochure cover, visual in your exhibit booth. You'll also have a podium logo that you can upload as well. And what's fun here is within your small booth, you can even show a featured video that could be 2 to 3 minutes long that can highlight your brand, your service, or your product that you want to showcase. On the right-hand side of this image here is really an outline of all of the assets that you need to create. And it's a little hard to see right now, but I believe you do have access to the actual PDF copy of this, but it helps provide you information for your marketing team or your graphic designers on the specifications of what those marketing details need to look like and be. Couple key best practices on here is live meeting link should not be password protected, mainly because when someone's joining your meeting, it needs to be a seamless experience. If they have to look for a password, you might get they may get lost looking for it, and you might lose that opportunity. The other element is for your calendar booking link. Make sure that's also not password protected as well. So those who have access to want to book an appointment with you can do that easily. From a resource size perspective and the quantity, so with resources, you can actually add more than just one, but your top one would be your first one that you want to showcase, and that's the one that's going to show on the magazine stand. But you can have more if you wish. Next slide, please. So the next slide just basically shows you the visual of what the medium booth looks like, as well as the same thing on the right-hand side in terms of the breakdown of the marketing assets that you'll need to create. Best practices are the same as what we just talked about with the small booth. The main difference with the medium booth is now you have 2 banners. So that's extra marketing and visuals that you can really highlight. So if you're launching a brand or a service, you can definitely leverage that as your additional graphics images to pop within your booth. And in here as well, you have an extra brochure cover. So for your resources, instead of just showing one, you can highlight two of them visually in your exhibit booth. Next slide, please. In the large booth, here you can see it just feels larger as well. And the main difference here with your two banners, one of them is large. The second one is a bit shorter, so it provides a bit of a visual contrast for you. The other main difference in this one as well is you now have two videos. So you have the front video with one of the avatars, and in the back wall, you have your second video. So for those of you who have really a lot of exciting content that you want to show and make it a little bit more animated and immersive and fun, you can leverage this as your second video as well. Best practice are the same as the small and the medium booth that we talked about as well. Next slide, please. Now, here is your menu bar set. In every exhibit booth, whether it's small, medium, or large, this bar set will be in the bottom of your exhibit booth. And this is another way that the participants or your visitors will be able to access your content and your information. So where you see the information icon, it's basically where you have, if they click on it, it will basically be 1,000 words that you've dictated and uploaded on what is the description of this booth or your brand or your product or your service. So that's up to you in terms of what that looks like. And when they click on the contact, this is where you have already uploaded the V card. And for the participants, they can actually click on that and download the contact information. And you can have up to 3 contact information for them to download. So if you have 3 different representatives that will be live in your exhibition booth, those would be the recommended contacts that we suggest that you upload. For the live meeting link, this is where they would click on live meeting and they would join in your specified link and how they're going to connect with you in a video conference. The next one is calendar. So this calendar is really your booking link. So if they are busy, but they're really interested and they want to schedule an appointment with you, they would click on that and it will open up your Calendly or your Brazil or whatever other booking appointment app that you have and that you've provided a link to. They'll book the appointment there. From the resources. So here I mentioned earlier that within your exhibit booth visually, they'll be able to see 1, 2, or maybe a little bit more if you have the large booth. But if you uploaded, let's say 10 resources, this is where they can find all of the resources to download. So the resources could be anywhere from a PDF, images, or spec sheets about your product, or quote sheets if you want to as well in here. Now, I was here. This little fishbowl is a really fun one. It's an interactive button for the attendees to really submit their contact information. So I highly recommend for all of you to really consider how you want to use this. And it could even be a promotional opportunity for you to say, hey, submit your contact information for a chance to receive an exclusive offer that will email to you. So that really just gives you an open window to connect with them and really add your lead generation contact list. Next slide, please. Okay, so we talked about your workflow, and this is really your step number 4, your checklist. So depending on your small, medium, or large, each checklist is a little bit different. Example here, that visually that you see is a little hard, but this is your full checklist for a small booth. It basically helps you outline all the details that you need to collect, anywhere from your representative's name, their email address, your booth name, your booth information, that 1,000 characters when they click on that icon information. This is where you would actually upload it. And then your company's contact information, your links to your live meeting, literally everything that you need to set up your exhibit booth for your experience and your event is all listed here for you. So make sure you download the small, medium, or large based on the size that you've selected, and it will help guide you to be successful when you go to the next stage. Next slide, please. Next. Okay, I believe this is the old presentation, but let's take a look at this one. Here is basically when you log into the actual exhibition, actually when you get a link to the booth generator, you're going to enter in here. And within that, the first thing that you're going to see is, what size do you want? Small, medium, large. You would click on large as an example here. And here's where you would start entering all the information. So this is just a quick little video that shows you exactly what the booth generator looks like and how you can easily click on the features that you want and upload the information information that you need. What you see right now is select the booth for your background. So if you want to have a background customized, you can, or there's 4 other options for you as well. And in every session, there's a validate and continue button as well to make sure that the resources that you've uploaded works based on the specifications that we provided. Same thing for images. This is where your visual for your exhibit booth, from your top banners to your backdrops. So we've made it quite easy for you, and I have to do a big thank you to our developers that's created this wonderful tool to make it very not so scary in terms of going virtual and creating a booth. And the nice thing is you don't have to worry about booth rentals or the knockdown or the setup days. This booth generator would take you probably for the first time up to 20 minutes. And once you become a pro, it will probably take you about 5 minutes to upload. Next, please. So once you've uploaded everything, this is just an example of what your booth generator looks like. If you're happy with it, you can click and double check everything's working. And then once you are happy, you can click on the create booth. And then the next slide will basically show you that your booth has been successfully created. And that's the next slide. There you go. We're going to move over now into best practices. And this slide here really just talk about marketing. So Larry talked about the Dubai example earlier, where one exhibition experience generated 12,000 participants from 62 countries and resulting in 1,000 appointments. This is a wow moment. So if you think about this, virtual experiences has really built our global village. So your ability to exhibit at an experience with Florida Enterprise really allows you to have a greater reach. And your cost per lead for virtual events is a lot lower than digital marketing. So consider that. And it really is a social media moment. So if you're launching new brands or new services and you want to create that FOMO moment, so it's a really great way to market to your potential clients that's following you already, that you're participating at this event, and come check out your exhibit booth where you'll be the first to see your new launch or your new services being launched. And it really does help drive engagement. And we talked about the fishbowl earlier in the exhibit booth. So really consider how you want to position the engagement with special offers and to really generate your lead gens there. If you don't have a graphics design team or a creative team that can help create your specific assets that you need to generate your booth, this link here that we've put in the presentation really is a link to the resources that you can leverage. So there are outside creative companies that you can hire or contract to create all of the creative assets that you need. Next slide. So with regards to live meetings, here's a couple quick notes that I want to share with you. One, schedule an internal rehearsal. So we talked about this as your step number 6. This is really a run through and a choreograph of how you're going to use the live meeting and the chat function. These are 2 different functions with your exhibit booth. If you have one person trying to do both, you may actually not have a great experience for your participants that's chatting with you or that's trying to have a live meeting with you. So really think about what that's going to look like from a scheduling perspective. And then technical dry run. So if you're definitely doing a live meeting experience as an opportunity for them to connect with you, make sure that your participants or your representatives has a great internet speed. If they could have a hardwire plug in to a LAN line, that will ensure no faulty experiences with internet. And then from a visual perspective and your audio devices and your lighting, that's a really good checkpoint to make sure that everything's working properly. And when you connect with people, they're seeing your wonderful, beautiful faces versus it being in the dark. And the note on dress for success. So at every opportunity with exhibit booth, especially with live meetings, your visitors are going to be able to see you and your representatives. So consider a dress code that can really best represent what your brand and your service or your product is, and even consider a virtual background that could be branded. So you really have that full impact of a visual experience in a virtual environment. And from a scheduling engagement perspective, we mentioned this earlier, please consider having 2 or more representatives available at any given time that the event is live, just so that your engagement from live meetings or chats can be very smooth. Next slide, please. So the booth stats engine. So at the end of the report, you will be able to receive a report based on who has visited your booth. And you can export that to a CSV file. And then this is a great opportunity to add to your CRM for efficient lead sourcing as well. Next slide. From a planning perspective, just a couple key things here for you to consider. Create a SMART objective. So if you are participating at this event, what are your goals? Is it generating 500 leads through a live meeting and chat? And from a secondary perspective, if you're going to be doing a promotional activity, is your goal to have 1,500 fishbowl contacts? And those are real contacts that has provided you permission to contact them later. So consider those as your SMART objectives when you're joining a virtual event in terms of what do you want to get out of this experience. And the other note here is assign one dedicated event lead. So when you think about this, some companies may have 5 people, may have 20 or 100 people, and everyone's involved in the event meeting. But if you can have one dedicated person to really filter out all of the questions and direct them to either its NextTech AR or the Enterprise Florida team, then it makes the information flow a lot easier. So that's a recommendation that we highly recommend. And the other element here is plan marketing assets to best showcase your brand and project. So before you get your marketing team or your graphics designer or the third-party firm to help develop, really think about what's your brand positioning and what are your newest updates or products that you want to feature. Once you have that strategy in place, then start working on your actual content in terms of the visuals of what your exhibition booth is going to look like. Next slide, please. From a post-event perspective, we highly recommend that you prioritize your follow-up with interactions that were most engaged. We would call that the hot leads. So individuals that participated in live meetings with your representatives or with chat. These are individuals that are actually really interested in learning more about your project and brand. So don't forget to put them on your priority list to connect with them, and even write a personal message to reiterate what you talked about if they were on a chat or a live session with you. And from a follow-up perspective, an email is great with any questions to help answer and just really continue the conversations. Next. Okay, that is it. Everything else after this is really what the booth generator looks like. So we can probably pass through all of those very quickly that you saw in a video. That's it for me for now. And over back to the Enterprise Florida team. Thank you.
Thank you, Connie. And very briefly, before we start our Q&A session, thank you for all the questions that we've received, by the way. Please note that we are present throughout the state. We have 6 regional offices devoted to assist you in the pursuit of your business development goals. Next slide, please. We will share this presentation so you will have all the contact information of your respective office and regional managers. So don't worry if you don't have to write this down, but for you to know where we're present and how we're distributed throughout the state. Next slide, please. I just want to thank you again on behalf of Enterprise Florida for your time and participation. Do not hesitate to contact us if you need additional information about our services or if you wish to exhibit at the Florida International Trade Expo. You saw all the amazing features that we have, and we're putting a lot of effort into making this a really, really great event. So for those that are still thinking about joining the event, we hope this presentation has helped. We will now start going over our questions. So for the deck team, we have a question. Can you speak briefly about the new tariffs imposed by the EU and implications you see from them? Well, let me go over to the next question, and then we will answer this question via email. We will have our deck colleagues
Alejandra, if I could just chime in, both Jim and Oz were called away to appointments, and we weren't
Okay, so
expecting any questions of the deck, but we can certainly communicate that to Jim and Oz.
we will pass this question then. Thank you, Larry, for letting me know. Okay, so another question. Can the booking link also be a link to the contact page of my website?
So that link, you can if you want to, but really, realistically, the client is looking for a booking link to book a scheduled appointment with you. So if the link is to your contact page of your website, if it does the same thing, then I would say yes, you can do that.
Thank you, Connie. Next question. This is from Amalia. Can I include more than one product in the presentation?
I'm not quite sure what you mean in terms of presentation, but you can definitely, from a resource perspective, you can upload more than one product if you want. Depending on the size of your booth, visually, the resource can show one or two if it's medium, and then up to four if it's large. And then, but in your icon menu set bar, you can upload up to 10. So if you have more than one product spec sheet or product information sheet that you want to upload, you can include that in the resource library.
Thank you, Connie. Okay, we have one question, and this is for Enterprise Florida, and I will cover this. So what are the requirements to qualify for grants covering the cost of the trade show? So the exhibition cost is $1,060. We have grants available to subsidize the participation cost. This includes also all the prearranged business meetings that you can do as previously explained. The basic requirements to qualify for the grant is to be a legally registered company in Florida. So that means have your SunBiz and have a physical business presence. 500 employees or less. You have had to be in business for at least 2 years and be an either Florida service provider or a Florida manufacturer. So those are the requirements to be eligible for our grants and for this grant as well. Please note that companies, Florida companies, can apply to up to 4 grants per fiscal year. But please note that this event will not count, or this grant particularly will not count towards those 4 grants. So even if you participate and if you get this grant, you will still have your 4 other grants to use for the rest of the fiscal year. So that's that's great to know. And if you have any other questions, just feel free to email us, and we will answer those questions. Carlos is asking how many countries will this event be seen? Larry, do you want to answer that question?
Well, the event will be hosted here in the United States, but the promotion will be worldwide. We expect to have visitors coming in from the Pacific Rim, South and Central America, Europe, Israel, Africa. And so even though the event will be held here in the United States, the visitors will be coming from worldwide.
Another question from Carlos. Will there be translating services available? Larry, you want to also answer that, please?
What was that question again? Are translation of services available?
Yes.
The exhibitors' videos at their booth will be available with other language subtitles. If translating these services are required for testing That would be something we would have to take on, review on an individual basis and see how we can incorporate that with the Next Tech AR Solutions Group. But that's not going to be included in the basic cost of the booth.
Thank you, Larry. A question for Next Check. Is it possible to modify the booth after you click create booth button?
Yes, you can modify and make changes if by accident or somehow there's a little bit of a change from an asset or contact perspective. When that happens, you will need to work with our development and delivery team, and that will take a little bit extra lead time to do that. So we hope that 100% the checklist is used and that everything that you need is uploaded based on it. But if you have to make changes, then absolutely our delivery and our developers will be able to help you make those changes. It won't be as easy as you guys going back into the booth generator. It'll be more technical and more manual at that point.
And I just add to that, this is Andrew again. There are upgrade options to the booth as well. So you have fantastic 2D, small, medium, and large booth options. If you want to add an AR component and augmented reality, which could include the ability for an attendee to go and scan a QR code, and then they can place a human hologram into their kitchen or their living room, a portal experience, a product experience. We can add those as additional items to your booth. So feel free to contact Larry or Alejandra or myself, Andrew at nexttech.com to discuss AR add-ons further. And those will be available for you to take offline as well to put on your website or you to have on properties outside of the virtual event.
Thank you. Larry, can you please share more information about who will attend to the Florida International Trade Expo? That's a question as well.
Well, in terms of visitors, as I mentioned in my brief comments, we're utilizing our offices overseas to contact trade associations, industry associations, chambers of commerce, something we call American Chambers of Commerce. These organizations will all be promoting their events. And then we're also going to be using a database that Enterprise Florida has access to called Compass. And in that capability, we will be able to be sending out approximately 15,000 emails directly to executives at key companies within industry clusters being represented at the trade show. And last but not least, we are going to be promoting the event through this Association of Buying Agents Overseas. That outreach will consist of 3 separate email blasts to companies that we identify based on the products that the Florida companies are exhibiting. And we will also be putting in banner advertising for the event on that organization's website, as well as banner advertising from the Compass database. So at this point, we have not begun accepting, I should say we are accepting registrations from overseas, but the international promotion has not begun exactly yet. Most of the people who tell us, who have done these shows before, suggest to us that international marketing begins usually about 40 to 50 days out from the event. And so it's kind of difficult to answer who will be attending at this event because in a sense, it's a little premature to be doing international promotion at this time. But we intend to start the first week of January and have a better feel for the visitors at the show.
Thank you. We have another question. Can you tell us more about the meeting scheduler?
Well, the meeting scheduler is going to be something very interesting. As companies register for the event, they will be identifying their industry cluster and then products that they manufacture using industry jargon. And then it will also be describing what kind of relationships they're looking to develop through the virtual trade show. At the same time, attendees coming to the show will be answering much of the same questions. They will be identifying themselves as with regards to the industry cluster that they're in, the kinds of products and services that they're looking to buy, their relationship within the company. Are they a buyer? Also, the relationship within the industry. Are they a distributor? Are they an end user? And so, based on the information provided between the exhibitor and the attendee, companies will be able to search that information and identify companies in real time at the show, and that will form the basis for the meeting scheduler. The attendees will be able to contact the exhibitors and say, I noticed that you manufacture that proverbial widget and we distribute widgets. We'd like to arrange an appointment for you at such and such a time during the show. And the exhibitor will be able to accept that appointment. And then at that appointed time, the exhibitor and the exhibitor and the attendee can communicate via text or through video chat.
Thank you, Larry. And we also have a question here. We understand that many overseas business people use their cell phone for web access. Is the event mobile friendly?
Yes, it'll support Droid and iPhone capabilities. As we've been developing all of our, and I'm not a tech whiz, but as we've been developing all of our on-site information, we've triple checked that it is mobile friendly, and the folks at Next Tech Solutions have been working with us very closely to ensure that capability. So that I know, for instance, in South Africa, cell phone usage for business is much more widely prevalent than it is perhaps here in the United States. And so having that capability will open up the show to an even wider audience.
And I'll just echo that our platform is fully device agnostic. So we recommend people do log in using their desktop, but we realize that's not always available. So it is iPad, iPhone, or Android friendly. We just did a massive event in Latin America where basically everybody joined using their cell phone, 12,000 participants. So yes, it is fully device agnostic.
Well, that's pretty cool. Another question. What does the basic exhibit cost include, and where can we find options about the pricing? There's one price to participate. That's $1,060, and that includes a booth. You can either choose a small or medium or large booth. There's no additional cost for any of the size of any of these type or sizes. It's more related to what you feel more comfortable with in terms of the content that you will upload. So it's up to you to choose the size of the booth and the type of the booth, again, at no additional cost. And you will also get access to the different platforms for meeting during the exhibition time, when companies come and visit your booth. If you still want to keep talking and you want to engage in a one-on-one meeting, you can do so via Zoom or other similar platforms. Or you can also, and you also have access to the meeting scheduler. So that's an additional service at no cost. It's just a complimentary service where you can also schedule prearranged meetings as well if you wish. So that's what the exhibition package includes. Happy to provide more information. We will send more detailed information via email along with a copy of the presentation and information about grant eligibility and our services.
Alejandra, I also noticed we
Yes.
just received a question where it's being asked if the exhibitors will be able to contact and identify the visitors as they come to the show. At this time, I'd like to ask respond to that, please.
Yes, one of the great features is that people, when they visit the expo booth, can leave their contact details to follow up accordingly. That would be permission-based. There are opportunities to contact people a few other ways as well. But ideally, an attendee would go to a booth, leave their contact details, and the exhibitor can follow up accordingly.
Dave?
Thank you. Yeah.
Alejandra, this is Azerdem. I'm just back and I saw the question about the EU tariffs. I can just briefly talk about it if you like.
Thank you. Yes, please.
Well, yes, there was a preliminary list of the certain items which covered basically, fish, shellfish, some agricultural products, tobacco, alcoholic beverages, leather products, byproducts, and the motorcycle parts. These are just a few of them. So yeah, we expect an impact as the agricultural exporter, to our state, major impact from the increased tariffs, and this happened, very recently as a retaliation, in response to Airbus and the Boeing dispute, and we expect the total U.S. Impact would be over $4 or $5 billion worth of products and equipment. Now, what's going to happen next? Well, we have members in National Association of District Export Councils who are also part of the industry trade advisory committees at the U.S. Trade Representative. So we keep discussing what could be the next action, but it's part of the trade war, really. I don't know from strategical perspective anything is being done at the USTR, but that's for sure. EU, we would like to see the administration's stance on that. So this is kind of like final episode is a response to previous administrations, the increased steel and aluminum tariffs. So that was basically the EU's response after a year. And they would like to see what's going to happen next if the new administration is going to do something about it, and not is going to exercise in a hardline stance on it. They would probably reconsidering removing or decreasing those new tariffs on those products. So we are at the moment just waiting and seeing. We'll see how it's gonna shape up our future. But again, we see this as a temporary situation, and we're hoping that a year from now it could go away.
Thank you all for your answer. And I have one final question. I think we're running out of time. Will all contact information for visitors, potential buyers be listed for exhibitors to peruse? Will exhibitors be able to contact the visitors, distributors directly? Do exhibitors have to wait for the visitors to visit their booth?
So I'll help answer this one. So the contact list will only be provided to you if the visitor clicked on the fishbowl and consented to providing their information. Just based on GPRD, we need to respect everyone's wishes in terms of their participation and their information being shared. So as long as you have the fishbowl on and they selected that, then you will definitely get a full list of everyone that consented to your visitor booth. And from a question about whether you need to stay in your booth to get that information. So the fishbowl is active and live. You don't have to do anything. It's the visitor that needs to click on that. But you do need to make sure that there is a representative available if someone wants to chat with you or if someone is going into a live meeting with you. So if they click there and there's no one responding, then you may actually just lost a lead there. So we highly recommend that throughout the live event, you have a couple representatives available to coordinate the schedule and be able to interact and engage with the visitors.
Thanks, Connie. And the very last question now, sorry, we have to finish. It's already 11 a.m. Will you invite other government agencies or only other businesses to attend? So we will have exhibitors will mostly be Florida service providers and manufacturers, but we will have our colleagues from the different economic development agencies from Florida as well. So you can interact with them, and of course our partner, the U.S. Commercial Service, will also be participating. So the answer is yes, we will have other local agencies present at the event.
Alejandra, if I could chime in a little bit, as many of our audiences, I'm sure, are aware, chambers in overseas countries are often on a parallel with government agencies. Many companies are required to be members of chambers. And so the chamber trust structure as it exists overseas more closely parallels a government organization than a private organization in some instances. And so these associations that we're going to be networking with are tantamount to quasi-government associations. And so that will be another avenue for promotion.
Thank you, Larry. Well, with this answer, we have concluded today's webinar. Thank you again, everyone, for your time and your participation. We're very excited about our upcoming Florida International Trade Expo. And again, we invite you to participate. We hope you can join us. And please do not hesitate to reach out and to find out a bit more about the event and the grants that we have available, and to learn more about our services as well. Thanks again, and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.